Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing Intelligence live stream. Today we have a very interesting topic about B2B marketing basically. So B2B marketing I would say is the most common kind of marketing any kind of a small business owner he aspires to start a business. B2B is a little bit easier to get into, a little bit lesser capital intensive, plus with digitalization we have so many tech companies, which I would say 80% are in the B2B space. So they're providing some or the other kind of a business software or some kind of a tool which will aid somebody basically in some kind of way, like whether you have for a business function, say HR, sales, or finance. So you're having some kind of a software, or you will have a kind of a platform which could be like a business marketplace where a buyer is meeting a seller. So this is a very interesting topic where I would say the maximum employment that is there for marketers is in the B2B space. So this is very important, that what are the modern ways of, or what are the great campaigns that have been started in B2B. Also, obviously, definitely lines are blurring. Earlier, I would say B2B may the budgets were not that big, but today they are, because you have these huge funded companies who are in the B2B space, in the tech space, and they have these huge campaigns in the mainstream also that you can see. So it's a very going to be a very interesting discussion. So to discuss on a few of the best, which is our opinion, which we feel are the best in terms of innovation and creativity, the marketing campaigns, I'll bring on Rebecca De Silva. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey Nikhil,
Great.
thank
It's
you
great
so
to
much
have
for
you.
having me again.
Definitely.
I'm super
And
excited to, talk about B2B here. I think, we've done a couple of different sessions so far. This is the first one we're doing solely on B2B marketing. So thanks once again for inviting me.
definitely, it's been great with our earlier sessions also, and definitely this will also be a great session. So you can just tell the audience your currently like where you're working and what kind of profile you have.
Right. So I'm Rebecca. I'm based out of Bangalore and I am a B2B marketer. I currently work at an organization called Hacker Earth. We have both a B2B and a B2B, B2C division. I head events for them in the B2B side, which means I lead, all sorts of virtual and physical events there, and I specialize in them. I've been in this role, just a few months, but it's already been such a great learning experience. Prior to this, I was also still a B2B marketer, but largely in the content space. So I'd say I've dipped my toes in B2B marketing quite a bit, and I'm excited to discuss more about the topic here.
That's great. So awesome. We'll dive into the campaigns that we want to talk about. So the first campaign is from Drift. It's an employee advocacy campaign. So Rebecca will take us through this.
Right. So I think an important thing to convey to the audience when we talk about B2B marketing itself is it's given a lot more weightage than what you'd consider in B2C, because the quality of the lead is a lot more impactful, right? So the lead value itself that you get from onboarding a business is a lot more than what you get from onboarding a customer. You need customers, just end users in scale, but even a single business can give you like a huge lead value or deal size itself, which is why I think discussing campaigns that have been successful in the past is a great way to shape other sort of campaigns that you might be doing as a B2B marketer. So when we're talking about, I think Nikhil and I have selected the campaign such that they're going to, go through a wide array of different topics that they've covered. We'll talk about the different creative ways they've used, whether it's tech, whether it's, something clever in terms of their content, or in this case, when I'm talking about Drift, we're going to talk about employee advocacy. So as a marketer, and the current company that I'm working at largely deals in tech recruiting and in the HR space. So the topic of employee advocacy is pretty popular right now. It's a buzzword that we keep using, because I think both HR professionals as well as marketers, all the time, you want your employees to advocate your brand. It's the easiest form of marketing that you can get, with people just giving out word of mouth or posting on their social media, and things like that. And I think in all of these campaigns, we all aspire to be like what Drift has done with their campaign. So I'll just, give you a brief idea about what it is. So Drift is a platform that helps businesses connect with their customers through, conversation and through different channels like email and chats, etc. It basically simplifies their business. But the product itself is not so important as much as what their marketing efforts have done for them. What Drift has done with their employee advocacy campaign is, as the word says, right? So whatever they post on their social media, on any channels, they have had each and every employee repost the same thing. So this is like a common trend that's been going through with all of their different campaigns. And the reason it works so well is because, think about it this way, in terms of just the magnitude. You have one company that has maybe about, say, 5,000 followers initially, but you have each of your employees, even if it's just 100, posting to their connections saying that, these many more people are able to see the same post. Naturally, it gets around. Businesses will take notice of this. And what HR and what marketing also inspires to do with employee advocacy is to make sure that you're also putting the company in a better light. So you're not just showcasing the company's product, you're also showcasing that it's a great place to work, that the employees itself have a very big belief in the product itself. So the fact that your employees might believe in their product is obviously a big plus when it comes to marketing, because that authenticity comes across. You're not just selling something, but you're selling it because you feel there's a deeper purpose behind it, right? Okay, awesome. Thanks. So, like I was saying, right, with Drift, what they've very cleverly done is they've asked each of the new employees or existing employees to just repost the content that they would see in their social media, or create content on their own. So this way, you're not only telling employees to just blindly put across whatever's just there on your different social channels, but you're also asking them to create new content, right? Which brings out more authenticity. So in this image right here, I think this was a product manager or someone in the product team who has just spoken about a very simple, incremental improvement in the app that was created, right? So they've just released like a small update. But what they've done is they are advertising this update by also promoting the fact that, they had a little celebration for it. So the post itself is not largely product heavy. So you're not overwhelmed with the information about the update, but you're interested to see what it is, just because you have the idea that, okay, if this update was big enough, it's big enough that they had like a celebration on it. So let's check it out. It sparks that little bit of interest that makes you want to revisit their product, right? So I think this is like a really clever way of using employee advocacy, because one of the top challenges you see with like asking your employees to advocate for your brand is that most of the times they don't believe in what you are promoting, right? So, or they wouldn't want to say overwhelm their own connections just because they that the company is asking you to, right? Suppose I am an influencer on LinkedIn right now and I have like a set content calendar with me. I wouldn't want to, just put in every single thing that the company asks me to post, right? Because that would mean I'm advocating excessively for the company, and my own followers wouldn't believe that I'm authentic anymore. They would think that, okay, this is just for the benefit of the product. This is something that, is just another marketing gimmick. So with this authentic way of promoting content, or employees creating and promoting what they feel comfortable with, but always tagging the brand, it's something that gives across a better name for the company itself. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. What I had to explain about it. If you look up Drift also, I think this is one of their most popular ways of promoting their campaigns. It's hugely successful. It's like, a common marketing case study everywhere. People are always talking about their employee advocacy program, because I don't think a lot of companies have come close to, replicating what they've produced with it.
That's right. So, Rebecca, in the case of this particular campaign, if you could give me very like specifically what a marketing professional can learn, or like a takeaway for them, basically.
I think a big takeaway is that, don't force your employees to promote the content that you have already posted, right? Because that way you are just reposting something that's already on all your social media pages. Like, for example, say Google. Google's probably on all the different social media imaginable. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on anything else, even the niche ones that you've probably not even seen. So anyone on any of these platforms already has seen this particular Google post. An employee reposting the same thing is not going to make much of a difference, except maybe you'll reach one or two, or maybe say even on a better case, like maybe about 10 to 15% more of your audience, right? But what is better for an employee advocacy campaign would be to ask your employees to promote content related to your company or product, and give their own personal touch to it. So, like we saw in the picture, right? She posted cupcakes. She posted a picture of some party that was happening. It's personal to her, but at the same time, she's also talking about a product update. Similarly, if say I was in my office, if we're restarting work right now, it would still be helpful for me to promote that sort of content, like saying, hey, we are back to work right now, but also we deal with, like, helping you. We have a product that helps you do your remote hiring. So that way it's like a small plugin, but rather like a personalized message. So I think, giving employees the freedom to promote authentic brand messages is always a great idea. I think that's like a big takeaway that comes from like employee advocacy campaigns.
That's right. So, Rebecca, can this be incentivized for employees? Because, say, for with respect to the use of social media, generally marketing and HR professionals, it is a kind of a part of their job where it will help them. So, for obviously in HR's case, if they are a little bit more active on LinkedIn, they can get to the right candidate basically for the job, and marketing obviously for the products and services to get leads or the traffic and all that. So for the other kind of people in the company, in the other departments, can this be incentivized?
I think one way to look at it, like from both, crossover of HR and marketing, is when you have employee referral. So in
Hmm.
those cases, you can always, promote your company about the workplace culture and things like that. That way you're encouraging thought leadership about the company itself. And anyway, in most cases, employee referrals are incentivized. So that way
Hmm.
it's like a win-win for all parties there. You have like a person who's being hired, you have like thought leadership of the company, you have a person getting in a referral bonus in case they actually do find someone there. On a regular basis, though, it wouldn't always be like helpful to incentivize these sort of things, because see, you can't really promise results, as like every marketer knows, in terms of social media, in terms of any of these campaigns, whether you're promoting thought leadership or you're promoting sales. And largely employee advocacy is for branding and for thought leadership. So you wouldn't necessarily, I mean, on the off chance, you can probably close like a sale, you can close like a big deal, and maybe that can happen, but it would still be a very top of the funnel, lead coming in. So you can't really promise someone that, hey, if we have a lead from you, we can give you X amount. If that's the case, to incentivize it, we'd have to probably give out UTM parameters for, every single person who's reposting on their
Hmm.
account. So they would have to create like individual UTMs, and then you can do that sort of tracking. And maybe that way, something can be incentivized. But I'd say, like, in general, it would be great if employees itself can promote these things, because with them promoting personal stories, things that are important to them, there's more of a willingness to do it rather than just promoting it for the sake of the company. So that way, like, you don't need to incentivize them at all.
That's right. Great. So we'll move to our next campaign, which I'll take you through it. It was very the popular Hey World campaign from UpWork. So UpWork is, I think, a market leader in terms of as a freelancing platform. You have various kind of freelancers, where ranging from content writers, graphic designers, developers, and you can kind of take the services. So a lot of companies come on this platform and do postings, and then freelancers can kind of directly approach that particular company, or it can be the other way around as well. So they had a very interesting campaign that they had done, which was called Hey World. So we'll have a look at the video first, then I'll kind of take you through the campaign itself.
Yeah.
Ask. It's Upwork. You seem pretty busy. Need a personal assistant? Or 8? Upwork. Whatever you need done, get it done with a freelancer.
So in this particular campaign, if you can see, so they have referred to Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is not a brand ambassador, or he's been being paid for anything. So you're just mentioning him. So it's a very way of you can say bending the rules. Like you are not kind of using his any kind of his image of him or something wherein it is you'll have to hire him for that. So you're just mentioning about him, and you're talking about the services of Upwork. So it's a very intelligent way of kind of using him. So Elon Musk is somebody who is always been in the news quite a bit. It's such a kind of an interesting case where, in the case of Elon Musk and Tesla, Tesla basically doesn't do any marketing. So Elon Musk has become so popular as such a unique person, where he is such a genius in terms of creating different tech products, and also with the SpaceX, and also he's always been in the kind of news whatever he's saying. So if he just tweets one thing about his upcoming car or something, that gets all kinds of coverage, and also from all, so he gets a lot of organic media coverage because of the way he is kind of communicates and is unique. And it's like a as a personality only, is so unique, like, and so out there and talented, that half of the things, like if you go through his achievements, it's unbelievable what he has kind of done. So here you kind of using, obviously he's been in the news that if you'll be requiring any kind of assistant or any kind of work, so you can hire it from Upwork basically. So was very interesting campaign, and due to this, there was a kind of a 10% increase from Fortune 500 companies in terms of the postings that they were doing, and the work that they were taking from Upwork. So this was one analysis in terms of the results for this particular campaign. So this is very interesting. Here I feel the takeaways that is very smartly, where you're using, it could be a case of moment marketing, where you are leveraging that popularity of the celebrity without like kind of formally signing them on. So here you are as I had mentioned earlier, you are like bending the rules, where you're just mentioning about them, but you're not like using their image or video or anything in that case, where obviously then they have the right to be paid for that. And also an interesting case where, see, end of the day, it could be like it's like a B2B kind of platform, but you're putting it in your product or service in a very topical or an interesting situation. So topical, as in about Elon Musk, maybe be in the news and all, an interesting way where he can use your particular, services. So they also use this campaign with respect to Dwayne Johnson and Donald Trump. So then again, they are not signed on by Upwork, but very interesting way wherein they, in terms of your leveraging that, so there'll be kind of, there was a lot of discussion about that, and there were a lot of reshares and all, and a lot of, I think, top media companies, they had talked about this particular campaign. So this is one of the better campaigns that I would say that was out there in Upwork. So it's not necessary to be, as I said, generally there's a perception of B2B campaigns to be a little bit boring. You're not talking about pop culture and all, but here it was talked about here. So awesome. So we'll move to the next campaign. So this is the Fyrestock campaign from Shutterstock, and Rebecca will take us through it.
Right. So, interestingly enough, I think about 2 weeks ago, I was in conversation with someone from Shutterstock. So we had a webinar in my current company where I was talking to the head of talent acquisition there, and we happened to speak about this very campaign that was happening there, where she was explaining to me the different initiatives that they're doing right now with Shutterstock. So both for employee advocacy, again, like we had mentioned with Drift, plus the major campaign that they had launched in 2019, which was the Fyrestock campaign. So the way this campaign came about, actually, it's actually a video. So a video that's been done almost like a parody. Actually, yeah, it is a parody of the Fire Festival. Now, the Fire Festival, for those of you who don't have context on it, is a festival that was created in 2019 by someone named Billy McFarland and a popular rapper at the time called Jaru, I think. Jaru, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so the festival itself was actually a fraudulent festival. So what he had done was, this person, Billy McFarland, is a popular con man. And he paid off a bunch of different social media influencers and famous people at the time, including, people like Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid, to advocate and promote this festival itself. And he sold like a bunch of different tickets for this supposed concert, which never actually took place. Of course, later on, he was convicted, but yeah, he conned a lot of people into believing that this was a very huge festival that was going to happen on some supposed island. And, it was, I think right now they've even released a documentary on the entire process, but it was a pretty big fraud at the time. So what Shutterstock did was they took about 18 of their own clips, so Shutterstock clips itself, and they put together a little promotional video as a parody for, the festival that happened there. So because it was a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, and like you said, right, it wasn't something that was normally expected of B2B brands, of being, very boring and business oriented. It was something that can appeal to the masses, that people can, look and appreciate for its general production value itself. So what Shutterstock did was they used their own product to create like a promotional video, thereby showcasing two different businesses how easy it is to make something like this. So they took just 18 clips. Nikhil, can you, showcase that video for me?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, as you can see, what they did was they just took a couple of clips and made it look completely real. So I don't know about everyone else, but at least for the beginning part of it, I was fairly convinced that it was some sort of music festival, until, you later realized that they were being sarcastic, that they were promoting pigs, and they were promoting like, a lot of different things there. But what's really interesting about the video itself was that they spent less than a total of $5,000 for the entire thing. That is including the licensing fee. Now, normally to make a video of that quality, especially for, a large event, it would cost much more. So they released an entire case study detailing, just how they went about the entire process, about how simple it is in general. So this is like a lot of product advocating and, at the same time promoting your own product in a really inventive way, where you're showing the use case, firsthand about how easy it is. And the fact that they documented the entire process itself made people believe in, like, the authenticity of it. People know that, okay, yeah, you are capable of doing these sort of things with Shutterstock.
That's right. So is anything kind of like, since you also into marketing of events, anything that you feel also this was something that I could, this is a takeaway for me in this, what they have used?
I think in general, like, we use a lot of Shutterstock videos itself. So we also have like a licensing with them where we use these videos for promo videos, where we use their clips and their static images for a lot of different promotional material itself. With us, like, when you talk about marketing your own product in a different way in the space of events, and what I'm doing right now, of course, when we conduct different events, there will be like a plug-in of the product. There will be some amount where we will try to talk about the product. And in our own marketing efforts, everything you do at events also, you're going to plug in the product or try to bring up a way, in which you can cleverly talk about what we're doing. So in the case, like in what we do, we are a tech recruiting company. We have like a tech recruiting platform. So we conduct webinars where we talk about tech recruiting, and then we discuss
Mm.
these problem statements, and at the same time talk about, hey, actually there's a solution and we have one too. So it's like, a little bit of thought leadership, a little bit about product placement, about talking about your product also without being overly obvious about it, or promoting it way too much in someone's face, because
Mm.
nobody wants to constantly be bombarded with information about a product.
That's right. In this, I think it's very interesting because when that fake event obviously was in the news, there would have been a lot of coverage. So when you see that, then obviously it attracts you to completely see that, and you're sucked into that because like you're saying, okay, there's another kind of some island party and all, and then you are then in the end there is some kind of a twist in that, and very intelligently you are showing how your product can be used. So Shutterstock has a features of the stock videos also. So how stock videos can be, used within your video that you have to create for your event, because like obviously these kind of photos that will take a lot of there'll be a lot of charges, like if you're on set, you are making those videos, actually there's a huge production cost. So here you can use it. So there was, you're talking about a very important feature in your software, and you're attaching it with something very topical. So I think that was a very awesome way of using the thing. So great. Awesome. So we'll go to our next campaign. That is the Backing You campaign from QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is an accounting software for small businesses, and they signed on Danny DeVito as their brand ambassador. So they made a few. There were two parts. I think there was a videos about the particular. It was called the Backing You campaign, and there was also a GIF campaign that they had. So I'll firstly take you through that video of that campaign first.
That you're not using smarter tools to manage your business. You work too hard to work this hard.
Collecting receipts? Is it the 80s? Does anybody have a mixtape I can borrow?
You should be chasing pets, not chasing payments. QuickBooks gives you a sweet set of business tools that'll do all the hard work for you. You make room corgis, but you don't have to work like a dog.
You earned it. We're here to make sure you get it.
Time to get yours.
QuickBooks, backing you.
That's right. So in this particular campaign with accounting software, you are obviously showing with the technology how, as it goes forward, what can be things can be automated. So you're not kind of in the old world, and you're selling. So mostly a lot of SaaS companies, they use that tactic that you can focus on what you want to focus your business, and the rest of the activities can be taken over whichever business software. So there are a lot of automation tools or something that are used. So you are kind of, so here you are, they have taken us through certain small business owners. So I think there was a physical trainer, then there was one guy who was, I think he was doing like interior work or something. So here you are like kind of showcasing like these guys are extremely busy in their operations, and how QuickBooks can be kind of used for their accounting thing. So obviously this is a kind of an awareness campaign. We are not going to kind of deep into any kind of feature or anything which was not required for this campaign, but it definitely gives you that attention. Plus you have a celebrity which has been a big this kind of celebrity who has been maybe popular a little time earlier. This tactic has been used by cred also, because we have had celebrities who are not popular at the moment in the mainstream, but you're using them very intelligently in a particular feature of yours or something to highlight about yours. You're putting them in a very different situation. So that will kind of
Right.
it's like in any movie, like you have a guy who has been playing an out and out positive romantic hero, then you have him in a villainous role, so it arouses that interest, right? So the same thing was in Danny DeVito's case, that what happened here. So then next part was they had a Jiffy created. So I'll just take you to that particular. They had created this. So these were different GIFs that were created from Jiffy. Jiffy is like a tool to create GIFs and all. So these were different ones which were used, which can be used by a lot of small business owners, because they must be using a lot of chat tools, that they aroused a lot of interest. And plus, see, in the Jiffy library, when they included so many of these GIFs, these were actually used also by quite a few people in this. So this was very interesting. And the GIFs basically got around 15 million plus views at that time. So this was very, popular campaign. It went out quite a lot. Awesome. So what is the takeaways for this for as marketers? Which is the first thing is you have to focus on technology to simplify processes. So you're creating a kind of a FOMO for your target audience, that if so it kind of puts you in a pose that, oh, are you kind of old world? Are you wasting your time in these monotonous processes? So that is I think one of the more common and effective ways that you're selling any tech product or a SaaS product, that you are showing that if you're not using our software, you're missing out quite a lot, because it is kind of automating so many of your boring processes. Secondly, in B2B, it opened up a way in where GIF and meme based marketing has been used. So this kind of marketing has been used quite a lot. Now, if you see a lot of the SaaS companies, they have used different kind of GIFs or memes. And when you get a particular, like a celebrity in, that gets that more, reach for that particular. And when they're put in a different situation than the roles that they have used, then it becomes even more interesting. So that has been, I think, one of the more effective campaigns that were out there. Learnings. So we'll take just a few questions also, and then we will go ahead and wrap up the session. So
Sure.
firstly, yeah, from first question was that what is the difference, if you want to say, in B2B and B2C marketing? What is the main differences that you find?
I think with B2B, because of with B2C, with the scale of the audience that you're considering, right? Especially when you're, say, a popular consumer product, whether it's apparel or, cosmetics or food, because you're considering the scale, you're looking at campaigns that are palatable to the larger masses, right? So in these cases, you make the campaigns, more vague, more widespread, more easy to understand, more simpler. But when you're talking about B2B, sometimes you have that freedom of going into specifics because you know exactly the audience you're targeting, right? So, for example, if I were a financial services software that is catering towards a bank, I would know exactly my audience that I'm looking at. I'm looking at bankers, I'm looking at small size banks or large size banks or people who are non banking financial companies. And so I'm free to use that jargon because I know that they will also understand it, right? So I can talk about things like, say a loan life cycle. I can talk about, things like their turnaround time of their loan processes, things that are not commonly understood maybe by the larger audience, but it's known exactly by my target audience. So just the fact that your target audience, can be more specific, you have the freedom of using the jargon that goes along with it for marketing. That is one major thing I would say with, the difference there. Apart from that, I think, another big difference that's there with both B2B and B2C is that you have more freedom sometimes in B2C in like experimenting in, checking the the data itself of the people that are responding to your campaigns, right? Because you have a larger data set there. You can check and you can always revisit it. You have the freedom of experimenting that way with different types of campaigns, with different channels. You can always come back with that data and see what the results are showing. But with B2B, sometimes you might not get the complete positive or negative that you're looking for. So if say you tried out a new experiment with say a channel, or you're A/B testing something, sometimes you have to use your metrics very carefully there. With B2C, where the metrics you might be considering are conversion rates, or you might be considering the deal size itself. Here in B2B, you'll have to probably look at you'll have to look at things like open rates, or just conversations that can be started, simpler metrics that don't necessarily involve sales, simply because the sample size is a lot smaller.
That's right. So the next question is that as a B2B marketer, what skills you should kind of work on?
I'd say with B2B marketing, content is super important. Uh, Content is the main thing that drives a lot of marketing initiatives in general. But when it comes to B2B, because I mentioned before, right, you're looking at specificity. You're looking at targeting a very specific audience. So being a subject matter expert is a given. You have no room to, just play around with what your product might be, or have like a general notion of what your product might be doing, or things that you are working on. You have to know exactly what your audience wants. So content skills are a must for sure. Apart from that, most of the skills are pretty similar to B2C, except that you might need to shift your focus a little bit in what way you're dealing with it. You have to understand that the the impact that you're creating with B2B marketing is a lot greater than what you might with B2C. So when you're thinking about, say, demand generation itself, right? For B2B marketing, you need to look at it at a scale where you are catering to the audience that you're looking for. You have to be proficient with your analytics. You need to know exactly who you're targeting. So having the search engine optimization skills, SEO skills, basic analytics skills with Google Ads, all your paid ads, running LinkedIn ads. These are sort of things that help you with your initiatives there. In general, like social media also, when you look at it, LinkedIn is your best friend as a B2B marketer. But for B2C, you probably might be more focused on things like social, or things like Instagram or Facebook, or maybe even TikTok for that matter. But knowing your channels, knowing your audience, these are things that you need to get down to a conceptual level. And then you need to see what are the skills that might be needed in your particular domain. Like, for example, with me, I conduct events. So for me, as an event marketer for a B2B space, I need to be very proficient with, not just event softwares, but vendor management, with knowing, which vendors to talk to when we're conducting events, when we're hosting events. I need to be on top of, reaching out to LinkedIn connections, how to do speaker outreach, how to, figure out what is your audience that you're targeting, right? So you need to figure out who is the influencer in that particular space that you might need to speak to. So yeah, these are like a few skills that I can say from my own experience, but I'm sure there are a lot more that people might be able to learn with different spaces that they're in. They might have, some of these might be useful, some of these might not. It's very subjective.
That's right. So next question is, in the B2B domain as a freelancer, what are your what would your go-to places to get leads as a say you are, for example, a graphic designer. How can you kind of get to these, say, smaller SME companies? How do you get to them and talk about your market yourself, basically? Any tips for them?
So this is for freelancers to get employed in B2B companies, is it?
No, no, just projects.
Okay, so projects in general, but in B2B companies, those are like, as in they're looking for
As in,
different.
like, because they are in B2B, so he's giving a service. So I'm giving graphic designing services, and I'm giving it to any kind of company. So it's in a B2B space only, right? Because
Right,
I'm
right.
giving a business service. So what would be your tips for like freelancers? Because there's so many people that they are doing their own, like either they're freelancing or a solo entrepreneur. How do they kind of market themselves on via LinkedIn, Instagram? Any tips for that when they have no background in place or any network? How do they kind of build on it, and how do they get leads?
Right. So I think one major step is, of course, registering on these different freelancing sites. Like you had mentioned, right? UpWork is there, there's Fiverr,
Hmm.
there's Lancify, there are a couple of different platforms itself for freelancers who can get work. That is probably step one. But going over and above that to market themselves, a really important thing would be to post their work on social media. I'm sure you also would have seen that a lot of
Yes.
designers and UX designers, or graphic designers, especially when we're talking about people with that profession, what they do is they take on little projects of their own and post it on social media as like a testament to what their work can be. So I've seen a couple of different people, taking say a product of Swiggy, or taking like a restaurant on like Zomato, and just creating like a different UI experience for it, or creating, their version of what they think might be like a good wireframe for it, and then posting that on social media. Now, that's easy when it comes to like graphic design, because obviously there's a visual element on social media for you to look at. It will get traction. It's not so easy when it comes to other domains, right? So when I'm like, say, if I am an event marketing specialist itself, this isn't something that you can normally freelance. You'd have to be employed somewhere. So I'd say with like general freelancing jobs, if you're into content or if you're into design, always taking up projects or showcasing it on like, say, a blog or different social media sites is a big um, way for companies to know what your profile is. Basically, creating like an online profile and sharing it with um, potential customers.
That's right. So next is, any tips you have for B2B email marketing campaigns? Like, let's be then specific. Then let's say in the SaaS space, any tips for B2B like email campaigns?
So, as a person who used to do email campaigns before, I remember initially, like with the domain, it's important to know who your audience is, like I mentioned several times before. Uh, but also don't underestimate them. Because initially, when I was doing B2B SaaS marketing itself, we always thought our audience would be more on the serious side, which is why we wrote emailers that were very text heavy. We wrote, things that we thought might be catering to them, which is, just a lot of information that they might want. Now, this isn't always helpful, or I would say instead of just sticking in one particular format, it's always good to experiment, because when it gets monotonous, that's when you start to lose, the interest of people. So to keep that interest alive, I would say, experiment with the types of campaigns that you're sending, and always A/B test. So experiment with different subject lines, experiment with content, even experiment with sending out videos or gifs, or even things that you would normally send out to B2C candidates, or a B2C marketing campaign. What you would do there, what you would assume is too hipster for, say, a more business heavy audience. I would say try it out anyway, because you never know who might be interested in it. New age companies that are coming up are always looking for businesses that match their energy. Even if you're a fintech company, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'd be boring in any way. I think that's like a misconception that we need to get rid of in terms of B2B. Just because you're marketing to businesses doesn't mean you can't have fun with it.
That's right. Next is as a marketer, B2B marketer, how important is your own content creation on social media, which is for the obviously the TG of the company also.
So you're saying creation as in like B2B marketing itself, not like personal
That's right.
branding or
So
employee.
like for example, like I'm working in say Salesforce. So Salesforce target audience would be the sales heads of companies. So how important is me creating content say on LinkedIn which appeals to sales professionals?
I'd say, like, in general, it's super important knowing, the audience that you're going for, knowing who are the decision makers that can influence your product, whether it's in or out. It's super important to cater to them, and have different profiles created of, who you're targeting right now. So say, the marketer of Salesforce doesn't necessarily only target, say, sales head. They might also be targeting, say, like the CFOs of companies, or even the CEOs itself, who make the big budget decisions, right? If you're going to be purchasing a product, you need people who are in charge of the budget to be on board with such a thing. So, create your different content to cater to these different profiles. Have, like, posts that appeal to the business heads, as well as, sales heads, as well as product heads, or say even information security. Sometimes that's also often ignored, right? If you're looking at a product where you need IT help, you will need to create like content to cater to them, for them also to be able to advocate that the product is easy to use. So whoever is going to be using your product, and whoever's going to be a decision maker, it's important to cater to them, no matter what sort of channel it might be. If you feel like these are the profiles you get more on LinkedIn, then you have to create content accordingly. If you feel like you're getting more of these decision makers on Twitter, then you create the content similarly. With Twitter, you use short form. LinkedIn, sometimes you can use long form content, or you can change it up there. It depends.
That's right. Next question is that in terms of say the smaller companies that are coming up like in the B2B space, those maybe don't who don't have a major performance marketing budget or a very talented content team, what would you say to them in terms of say they how do they increase the traction on their post for or whatever they are selling or they are talking about to the target audience, like say for example there could be a tactic where you are directly messaging your content. So basically you divide your database into different segments, and what content would appeal to a certain segment you directly message that post or something. So that is like one tactic. So any other kind of tactics you can tell them, because a lot of there are solopreneur freelancers who might not have that much of social media presence or traction. So where you're kind of a little bit, it's like a push and pull campaign where you're doing. So how what would you be your advice to them?
I think one thing that, a lot of creators or even, small businesses or people who are just starting out, freelancers as well, they severely underestimate the power of just commenting on posts on, say, on LinkedIn or on Twitter or, even Instagram, things like that. Like resharing is just as powerful as creating your own content. Sometimes if you can't create your own content, it's always good to engage in any form with content that's similar, because you will always be noticed
Hmm.
by like-minded people or people in the same space, right? Especially with LinkedIn, when you comment on a post, it automatically shows up on different people's feeds, right? The person who's posting it as well as the person who's commenting it. There are ways to get noticed just because of that. These are like techniques that are often underutilized, because people just assume that if you are marketing yourself, you have to create all original content. You have to constantly be able to churn out that level of expertise in
Hmm.
your content. But that's not always necessary. And it's engaging with like similar content is also a really good way to learn what is happening, right? So if I don't know the trends of today, by simply engaging with people who do know it, I can always draw an inspiration from there. So commenting on different marketers' posts or commenting on business posts, right? To see what is happening there. Even if it's just, asking a simple question there, or like you said, messaging people who have asked like a question, because there are people who, release polls or people who ask different questions in order to get that traction. So respond to it and, give them what they want. So there is a chance there that, you might just hit up something which might be valuable for you.
That's right. In this case, like say, if you're doing it as a technique, like should you then like hashtag, say if you are in the graphic designing or something, so hashtag graphic designing or those kind of things, so that you can that kind of content will come up who have talked about that topic, and then you can comment on, because you're doing it, because it's not like whatever is coming in your feed and you just left it to the algorithm, like whatever comes. So you're kind of very focused way may you're doing this work where you're having that hashtag and then commenting on say 10 posts in a day or something like that.
Yeah, so I think, you can set yourself a target like that of commenting on X number of posts and things like that. And in terms of searching for the topics that you're looking for, it's good to do your research. Either you look at people who are,
Hmm.
you know, having that similar hashtag that you'd like to talk about. Otherwise, you can always look for different industry experts, just, looking for people. The algorithm is designed in a way that it will eventually show you, or, within the first few results, it will show you some of the most popular people in your particular space, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, another way of searching for people is also just doing a simple Google search, because people who are proficient with their personal branding or their marketing or whatever, they are going to be in the top results anyway. So you know that these are the people to look out for. These are the people you need to stay in touch
Hmm.
with, the people who you need to follow to
Hmm.
gain, insights in that particular content, and therefore
Plus
take
commenting on their posts
yeah,
will get you traction because they would be followed by people in the
right,
similar domain,
precisely.
and yeah, that way. That's right. Awesome. Great. So last question is, in the B2B space, like how would you define a great performance marketing campaign, like in terms of a structure of a sort of SaaS product?
So performance marketing is not really my strong suit here, because I've only dabbled in it. But from the limited understanding that I know about it, I would say, obviously the most obvious thing is, like, if you are making the most out of your budgets, getting the most number of leads there, that is a great indicator. looking at not just, the clicks and the number of impressions, but also seeing the impression shares, like seeing, how many times a particular site has displayed your advertisement. When it comes to LinkedIn marketing, that way, for performance marketing, it's important to see, you have a certain tag there that will redirect your customers, or people who are reacting to your posts there, to the necessary landing page. So, with LinkedIn, optimizing your budgets in a way that gets you the most number of clicks, or say the most number of website visits, or whatever your goal is for that particular campaign, I think tools that way have like a great way of telling you what is going well for you and what isn't. And the main thing, of course, is like if you're spending the least and getting the most results, you know for a fact that it's a success.
That's right. So definitely, I think in performance marketing, it is not only restricted to the Google ads and say search and I would say LinkedIn. You have also through content creators, if you have a tie-up influencers, you can kind of tie in your content with them. So that would come under. So this, I
Right.
would say, these the with a content creator, like there are a lot of LinkedIn influencers who are specializing in. They might be a subject matter expert in finance or HR or something. So you can kind of, obviously there is a budget because you are paying them for the post or something. So you can kind of monitor this thing, and obviously the go-to is the cost per acquisition. With after you do a particular campaign, that I've spent this much, so how much is coming, and you obviously divide it over the media that you are using, that
Right.
from where the the traffic has come and how you kind of closed it. So I think also one misconception in performance marketing, there are so many. I mean, like I mentioned with the content creators, there is a very innovative ways where you can use performance marketing. There are certain groups also online where you have to pay. They have worked really hard to get that amount of members in that group. So you can look at, it could be an online or an offline group. So you can go and you are having some kind of a product placement for yourself in that group. So
Right.
where you're mentioning, so there are some certain kind of events that you could be a part of, online, offline. So you'll have to do a lot of searching, and you have to use innovatively. But if you just rely on say Google ad or LinkedIn ads and all, that is kind of restricted, and your cost will kind of go very high. So you have to look at, so performance marketing is just not a technical thing. I think it can be quite creative, and you can do a lot of research to get the best CTA, basically cost cost
Yeah.
at per CPA, sorry, cost per acquisition. Awesome, great. So I think it's been a great session. We'll wrap up this session. So any closing comments, Rebecca, you can tell us about this session, about B2B marketing and general anything with respect to techniques or technology, what is going forward, what all can be there in terms of B2B marketing.
Right. So I enjoyed the session again, as I always do when we come on marketing intelligence. It's been great. I think, in terms of just closing comments or things that you can keep in mind while going for B2B marketing, if you are someone who wants to get into the space, it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy to learn, and it doesn't take a lot. You can always, look up different ways, and like we discussed, right, from just learning through different campaigns like this, there's always something new to learn there. Apart from that, yeah, I would just say, keep looking for innovative ways to market things. Don't always make it boring.
Awesome, definitely. It's great having you for this session, and I would wish you all the best. Thanks a lot for joining us again, Rebecca.
Yeah. Thanks, Nikhil. Great being here.
Thank you. And to the audience, thanks a lot for joining us. Many interesting sessions coming up. There are a lot of, I'm having some explainer videos also coming up. And there will be a few more sessions like this with people coming in and giving their opinions on different topics. So please stay tuned and subscribe to the Marketing Intelligence channel. So until the next time, I would say take care. See you. I wish you all the best and stay happy.